From hurricane-force winds to backyard pools, rivers, and lakes, as well as overloaded generators, dangers during storm season come in many forms. In this Storm Season Safety Town Hall, our panel of experts in disaster response, swim safety, and fire prevention will provide clear, life-saving guidance. Learn how to protect yourself and your loved ones when faced with nature's most unpredictable forces. Join us next.
Thank you to the Eunice Joyce Gardner Charitable Foundation for its leadership support of the Health Channel.
Welcome to our Storm Season Safety Town Hall. I'm Olga Villaverde. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th. But besides hurricanes, there are other severe weather events that could happen during any time of the year or really any time of the season, like severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, and catastrophic floods. So what are some actions you can take to protect yourself and your family? Take a look.
During a storm, know what to expect from the hazards you may face. Make sure to have wireless emergency alerts enabled on your phone. Pay attention to the latest forecast, as conditions can change quickly. Small changes in the storm's track can make a big difference. Always keep a safe distance from flooded and damaged areas. When you're at risk from storm surge or flooding, get to high ground. Evacuate if told to do so, and be alert for road hazards. Never drive through floodwaters. Follow established evacuation routes and do not take shortcuts. If your home becomes flooded and you're still there, get to a higher floor to escape the water, but avoid windowless attics. If the highest floor of your home becomes dangerous, get on the roof and call 911. To protect yourself from wind, put as many walls as possible between you and the outside. Stay sheltered until the threat is gone. Even if you're far from the most damaging winds and water, impact can be felt hundreds of miles from the storm. Remember to stay in your safe place. Remain vigilant, avoid travel, and stay up to date with the latest forecasts and alerts.
And these events can be deadly and costly. Take 2024, for example. It was the fourth costliest year for weather and climate disasters. Estimates are more than $180 billion in damages and nearly 600 direct or indirect fatalities. We have so much to cover today, so let's begin by introducing our amazing panel. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Madeline Camejo, Vice President and Chief Pharmacy Officer for Baptist Health South Florida. Jeff Heinz is a fire safety specialist with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. And Casey McGovern is the Executive Director of Every Child a Swimmer Foundation. Joining us online is Pete Suarez. He's an American Red Cross volunteer and spokesperson with the South Florida region. And finally, Dr. Jose Calderon, a psychiatrist and medical director of behavioral health with UnitedHealthcare. He was also involved in the recovery effort in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thanks for being here. Jeff, I want to start with you. Thank you, sir. It seems like when we get severe weather, and sometimes and more often it's unexpected, what can people do to prepare for something like this without warning?
Right, so without warning is tough, right? Hurricanes, we're fortunate that we know that they're coming.
Exactly.
We have a little bit of time, so now is the time to prepare, right? Hurricane season started June, goes till November, so now is the time to buy supplies and get all your things together that are important to each family and to each person and have their plans. As far as, emergencies that pop up out of nowhere, listen to your local news, your local government, your local apps, your local communities and resources to find out what's going on, because when those warnings come out is the time to respond to them.
And it's really important to listen to those warnings, which we get and we need. Pete, let me bring you in. What precautions should people take, and what should everyone have on hand for an unexpected or maybe even an expected weather event?
Well, Olga, the first thing is have a plan. You need to have a plan and know what to do. At the Red Cross, we tend to think of all events as before, during, and after. The before is the time for preparation. You have to learn what to do, know what to do, and then, most importantly, you have to practice. You have to drill. if not, when push comes to shove, you might not be able, not even able to find your go bag or your emergency kit. But it's a pound of preparation. It's worth a lot of cure.
And you mentioned a go bag. Can you tell me what that is? I've never heard of that before.
Well, we call a go bag it's a bag, or it could be a suitcase, it could be a pillowcase, in which you keep the stuff that you need to have.
Huh.
For example, medication. For example, batteries. Your cell phone charger. A cell phone charger. You have to have some means of communication to hear the information from the authorities. Maybe a crank radio. In the go bag, you can also have a flashlight. You can also have a can opener. You can have whatever it is that you need for your particular needs. It's recommended that you have it handy.
Fantastic.
At least you gotta know where you keep it to be able to just grab it and go in case you need to evacuate.
I love that. Grab and go. Dr. Camejo, let me bring you in. Medications, so important. So many people take medications every day. So when a storm is coming, if there's something that we need to be aware of, what should we do to prepare?
So the most important thing is make sure that you have at least 2 to 3 weeks supply on hand. If you don't, when there's a warning called, insurance says call your pharmacy, call your doctor, get your prescriptions filled in, because at least you get a refill too soon, they'll be able to take that off. And people need to have all their medications, because after a storm hits, pharmacies may not be open. So for you not to have enough supply to get you at least to 2 to 3 weeks is really important.
That's great information there. Casey, you know, drowning is always unexpected when parents are focusing on making the house secure in a fast developing storm. I mean, I remember with Hurricane Andrew, Hurricane Irma, you know, you're just trying to get everything in order, and the last thing you're thinking about is probably the pool. So how do you keep the children safe while you're just running around rampant, just getting ready?
Great question. I believe that you just have to know that it can happen, and making sure that you always designate a water watcher. You know, I know that you're busy, you're preparing, you're getting your home situated for the storm to occur and getting yourself ready for it. What you have to do is prepare yourself to have a water watcher or a babysitter or somebody that's going to be watching the children at all times, because you're distracted, so are they, and that's when accidents actually happen. And so just being aware that it can happen and setting up additional safeguards to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Dr. Calderon, something that comes to mind with the uptick in the unexpected events, some people might become overly concerned, anxious, and that's not good. So what can we all do to stay calm during storm warnings and watches? I remember before Irma, I mean, it was pretty frightening. I was anxious. Yeah. It was just this huge storm coming to Florida, and everybody was just wondering, what is this? And you get anxious.
Yes, and that's a great question. The first thing to understand is that anxiety and fear are normal responses, and they help us to keep alert and stay on task. But too much of it can make us not function well, right? But it's a normal reaction, is the first thing that I would say. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxiety and and fear. What can we do? Getting ready, staying prepared, number one. So we are crossing our T's, right? That we're doing everything that we need to do in a timely manner, so we're not caught up. We don't get caught up. Second, there are simple stress reduction techniques, where there are breathing techniques. Some people prefer movement that helps with easing some of the stress, and we can talk more about it later in the show. Get in touch with loved ones, get in touch with neighbors, have this community that's very supportive as well. We'll talk more about that. And also limit the amount of information. You know, we can be obsessive or compulsive, if you may, about with social media and news outlets, etc., that will repeat over and over the same thing. So maybe we need to dose that a little bit, because it can help reduce some of the anxiety.
Thank you, Doctor. Great information. So we usually know if hurricanes are coming our way. That's a plus. And we have time to prepare. That was the case with the 3 hurricanes that hit Florida in 2024. Take a look at this. On August 5th, Debbie hit Florida's Big Bend area as a Category 1. I remember that, causing widespread flooding. In late September, Hurricane Helene made landfall as a Category 4, also in the Big Bend area. It was the deadliest hurricane to strike the mainland U.S. since Katrina. And almost on the heels of Helene, Hurricane Milton struck, hitting the Tampa area as a Category 3 in early October. I mean, it was just one after another. This next video covers some of the same tips as our first one, but has some more important information. Take a look.
Hurricanes are dangerous rotating storms that form over warm ocean waters. They bring powerful winds, heavy rain, storm surge, and tornadoes. Drowning from rapid rise in water level and flooding is the most common cause of death from hurricanes. Prepare now to protect yourself and your loved ones. Sign up for local government emergency alerts. Local governments issue evacuation notices and have the best information on the situation in your area. Plan to follow weather watches and warnings issued by the National Weather Service. Get a NOAA weather radio so you can stay informed. Plan on going to a designated safe shelter for high winds. The next best protection is a small room with no windows on the lowest level of a sturdy building that is not likely to flood. Mobile manufactured homes and RVs are not safe in high winds. Plan by preparing to evacuate to a safe location. Be ready to live without power, water, gas, phone, and internet for 2 weeks. Identify a backup power source for power-supported medical equipment. Be aware that flooding can happen quickly. Plan to move to higher ground before flooding begins. Never walk, swim, or drive through floodwater. Remember, turn around, don't drown. If local officials advise you to evacuate your community to stay safe, you need to evacuate immediately. For more disaster preparedness tips, visit us online or download the free Red Cross emergency app.
Great video, Pete, from the National American Red Cross. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the pre-storm preparations that apply to everyone?
Well, I think what applies to everyone is to be able to practice what you have been, to be able to rehearse what you have been planning. You have to make a decision at one point of whether to evacuate or not. If you're going to stay in place, you can stay at your home. A lot of people feel that they have to defend the homestead from the storm, and that's not necessarily true. If you live in a mobile home, or if you live in a coastal area, you probably have to evacuate, and then this is where the preparation that you did beforehand comes in handy. Things like, for example, having extra cash. Didn't mention that before. Because ATM and credit cards might not be working. Mm-hmm. Take a picture of documents. Your passwords. A lot of people store the passwords on the cell phone. Cell phones have become our lifeline to just about everything we do. And then, as far as property is concerned, you got to watch for, got to know that you're insured and do the best that you can. Take pictures inside, out. Maybe you can Google a picture of your roof. Doesn't matter, but you have to be ready.
Have the evidence and be ready. You know, Casey, many people have a pool, a backyard pool in Florida. I think every house does, to be honest. You know, what are some great preparations that we can do if a hurricane is coming? Sometimes I hear people, do I take down my fence? Do I leave it on? What do I do?
Right. Well, first, you don't empty your pool. I think many people feel like there's going to be...
A lot of people ask that, do I empty it halfway?
No. Right. No, you'll cause more damage than anything. And so I think that just creating those layers of protection and doing what you can to prevent more damage from occurring. A lot of people say turn off the electricity around the pool pumps and things like that, so that obviously if there's a storm surge, you're not going to cause more damage. Removing all of the pool toys and the umbrellas and the patio furniture, making sure that they're not going to be a projectile to somebody like that. But also just remembering that if something can move with the wind, it probably will be, and it will. But I think just layers of protection. Keeping the fence up is definitely needed. Mm-hmm. Having a door chime that you can go to a local home store, Home Depot or Lowe's to purchase that for $10 is another safeguard to allow you to know that that door opened up and to know to go check it out if that happens.
Thank you, Casey. Jeff, what are some of the precautions people should take and consider about fire hazards when it comes to a storm?
Right. So the number one cause of house fires in the United States and Canada is unattended cooking. So unfortunately, when storms come, people are worried about their refrigerators breaking down or their freezers without power, so they think food's going to spoil. So then they start cooking everything. And then one situation can happen is that the power can go out mid-cooking, and then they go to sleep. The power's out for X amount of time, and when the power comes back on, they left food on the stove. That can't catch on fire, and it will catch on fire. So don't cook things. If you're going to cook them, start early. Make sure you turn off your ovens, your stoves, any heating appliance that you use to warm or make food. Make sure that's shut off. Keep your grills outside. Do not grill inside. Charcoal grills will actually off-gas carbon monoxide.
That's right.
Propane inside your house is not safe, inside the canister. We understand that, when a storm comes, you want to bring those things in so that you don't have projectiles. But once the storm is passed, put those outside. So don't grill or cook it, inside your home. Make sure your smoke alarms are working. Now is the time to check those. Make sure your batteries are up to date. Make sure your batteries are current, that they work. Test those things now, because the last thing you want to worry about, in a storm is, I don't have batteries for my smoke alarm, or people don't even think about it. And a lot of smoke alarms nowadays have battery backups inside them, or they're hardwired, and people don't think that there are batteries. And if you are hardwired, there are batteries, because if you lose power, they have to work.
Speaking of batteries, what about electric cars? For example, I have my charger outside, and I've heard that it could catch fire. What would you suggest?
So when it comes to the electric cars, check with the manufacturer. There's different things going on with those vehicles. Obviously, we see where the salt water and the batteries don't mix well or grow well together. However, different vehicles, different manufacturers have different warnings with that. So definitely check with them, and also find out if you're in a flood zone. If you're in a flood zone, you may want to make your preparations now. Where can you move that car to get it to higher ground so that it potentially doesn't end up submerged in water?
Dr. Camejo, I want to go back to medications. I know we had talked about getting at least 2 to 3 weeks stock up on the medications, but what if you don't have refills? There are some medications that are a little bit more difficult to get a refill for. Some of them are easier. But what if you ran out and you just realized at the last minute?
So where the storm is coming. You got to make sure if you're a week out, there could be a possible pathway of the storm. Immediately call your physician. You can always get a refill, or call your pharmacy, help them get you a refill. But make sure you have enough medication on stock. Sometimes specialty medications that you have to get through a specialty pharmacy, do that with plenty of time in hand, because if you have to get an authorization, all of that, there's a lot of work to do when making sure you get, especially those expensive medications. And the other thing is to prepare. There's a lot of medications that may be refrigerated, so make sure you have a small cooler. Freeze gel packs or even bottles of water, so that if the power goes out, you can actually make sure, if they're for short periods of time, if they're short, then you can keep them in the refrigerator. But if they go out for long periods of time, you can take them out and put them in the cooler.
Forgive me if this is a redundant question, but what if I'm thinking of my mother or somebody elderly in my family and I need to speak to the doctor? What kind of questions would I ask them to help them and guide them? Because I could tell you my mom at 82 would be very worried, and I would have to handle it for her. So
the most important things you can do for your loved one is make a list of all their medications and know why they're taking each of those medications.
Great stuff.
In case you need to help. Give them their medications or any of that. Sometimes elderlies don't remember, but it's really important to always list a group. And even for yourself, make sure that when you do get your medications, put them in what you might consider water protective containers or a bag, so that if you flood or anything, your medications are safe from water contamination.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So, as a hurricane nears, the best way to keep track of emergency alerts is on your cell phone. You'll need to go into your settings and look for government alerts and make sure they are enabled. I didn't even know this. If you lose cell service, there are satellite alerts called SOS. Newer cell phones like Android 11, iPhones 8, and later models have the option to turn them on. I'm actually taking notes, Jeff. I'm not kidding. So some people may not pay too much attention to this. When should they take the alerts seriously? As soon as they come out?
Exactly, yes. And there are a couple apps here locally. Alert PBC, like Palm Beach County, Alert PBC, and also DART, D-A-R-T. People can download those now or put them onto their phone, and those will shoot out alerts when they're going. And yes, take the alerts for what they are and respond when they come out.
Thank you. Dr. Calderon, I'm going to go back to you about anxiety. I have a bit of anxiety when it comes to storms. So when you're watching for the alerts and you're tracking a hurricane, that can cause a lot of anxiety. You know how it is on TV. It's 24/7, you know, live news, 24/7, breaking news. Is there a simple exercise or technique that could help ease those feelings for the entire family?
Well, certainly, and also it depends on the age of the entire family, but there are some simple techniques. For example, there are breathing techniques that help diffuse stress by activating the relaxation response system of the brain. So this is not just about feeling good about it, it's really actually calming down the central nervous system that is being on fight or flight with fear for this, right? So, for example, these simple techniques use a simple phrase. Some of them, like it could be a secular or a religious phrase, and you pair a word with a breath. So, for example, if I use a word like soft belly, which is a commonly used technique that we use with people during storms, before storms, after storms, the Department of Defense, many people have used this soft belly technique, where we ask people to breathe in through your nose and repeat quietly to yourself, soft, and as you're breathing out through your mouth, quietly repeat to yourself, belly. So soft breathing in, belly breathing out. And that keeps the mind occupied on something and paired with the breath and diffuses anxiety in the brain. Now people can use religious words. They can say on the in-breath Christ, on the out-breath Savior. They can, whatever you like, you can choose the wording that is right for you. And doing this for 2 to 5 minutes, 2-3 times during the day or whenever you're feeling stress could be very helpful. The other thing is that not everybody responds well to just breathing techniques, and some people feel very physically restless. And we recommend that to stay physically active, do stretchings with breathing, do mindful walking, for example, or even vigorously shaking off the anxiety for 3 to 5 minutes could be very, very helpful.
How about 50 jumping jacks? That's probably what I would do, to be quite honest.
That too. And you do it with children, and it becomes a fun game.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I would probably have to do some high energy exercise there, Doctor. Thank you. Pete, I want to talk about those that unfortunately sometimes need to evacuate. What should people do to prepare themselves and their family? Because that's kind of difficult to have to just grab everything and go. Any thoughts?
Well, that's where the preparation time came in before. The question is, how many members of your family, if you have pets or not, if you have to go to a Red Cross shelter, which I highly recommend you do, via the emergency app, you can find out where the shelters are located. There, you're going to be able to find a safe and secure place, meals, snacks. You're going to be able to have a cot, blankets, and the basic necessities to get over the moment of crisis during the storm. One caution is, for example, on pets. We can only accept certified service animals in our Red Cross shelters. If your animal or your pet is not certified, you need to make plans ahead of time with the vet, possibly, to find out what hotels or where you want to go with your pet, be it a dog, a cat, whatever. But at the Red Cross shelter, we accept service animals. Security is available at the shelter by the police, and there is also usually a crew of firefighters, fire rescues present there, plus a nurse, just in case any emergencies arise.
Great to know. Thank you. We're going to talk about pets in just a couple of minutes, so thank you so much, sir. You know, children can get especially uneasy. The American Red Cross has a very cute video that uses a song and some cartoon characters to communicate an important message to kids. Take a look.
So a hurricane's coming. Do you stay or go? You'll hear an alert on your TV or phone. Or radio. Shelter in place means stay where you are. Evacuate means leave. Come on, get in the car. Shelter in place means stay
All right, Casey, you and I were kind of like moving and grooving here. That was kind of cute. I really like that. And it's a great way to explain to children, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The video is great, but I would also just, at whatever age they are, be realistic, but reassure them, you know, that this is a dangerous situation, but you're going to be okay, you know, and we're going to be safe together as a family, and we just have to take these precautions and just talk to them at their level and reassure them that this is going to be okay, and make it also fun. Give them a task, you know, to do something with, as far as packing up or getting their favorite stuffed animal or blanket, just in case you do have to evacuate. But have the conversation so that they understand, and it reassures them too.
Pete, like you mentioned, there's another part of your family you can't forget, pets. We're going to take a look at this video that will help you make sure you have everything you need to keep them safe. Take a look, Pete.
Living Minute, a look at the latest medical innovations changing our lives.
When a hurricane or severe storm hits, there's not a lot of time to think about if you have to evacuate or not. But if you do, the experts say take your pets with you.
Our pets are part of our family, so don't leave them behind and then figure you'll come back for them later. You're evacuating your family, you're evacuating your pets.
You should make sure to have an evacuation kit for your pet. It should include any medication they're taking, 7 days of food. It's best to get the kind that has snap-open cans, so you don't have to worry about a can opener. Grab a cardboard shirt box to use as an emergency litter box if you have a cat. And don't forget the litter. And get your pets chipped.
Your pets should have these RFI chips in them, radio frequency chips, so if they do get separated from you, you can hopefully locate them later on. You want to make sure it's a universal chip that can be put on a universal reader.
Even if you don't have to evacuate, you should have a good place for your pets to weather the storm.
You probably want to have crates so that you can put your pet in the crate, keep them in a nice confined area so you know exactly where they are. And once again, if you have to evacuate, you can take that crate with you so that they can be maintaining that crate in the evacuation location.
The key is to be prepared before the storm hits.
Be prepared. So important to hear that, Dr. Calderon. I have a follow-up for you. You know, we talked about anxiety, people getting nervous. What if somebody has a panic attack during the storm? What should they do?
Well, that's a great question. So if you happen to be, well, number one, know that panic attacks will pass and they're not life-threatening. They feel horrible, but they're not life-threatening. So number two, the key issue here is to try to regulate the breath. Again, so have long paused out breaths so you can start combating the hyperventilation that happens with that. And if some people start having muscle cramps because they're breathing too fast during a panic attack, maybe breathing in through a paper bag can be of help to them. But if you happen to be around somebody that's having a panic attack, stay with them, make eye contact, show them how to breathe with them. If it's pertinent and with their permission, hold their hands. If it's suitable, can ask permission. Can you give them a hug and then breathe with them? You know, if they're your loved ones. Those things are very helpful. And the attack will pass within a couple of minutes.
And Dr. Camejo, I was just thinking now, if somebody's taking medications for, let's say, anxiety or nervousness or panic attacks, obviously don't take more than the dose recommended, right? Because someone could think, you know what, I'm just going to have an extra one because I'm having a panic attack.
No, don't. Always make sure you take your medications as directed. It's really important. Especially we don't want to have an overdose and no one can get to you. Exactly. So just make sure you take your meds as directed.
Speaking of no one getting to you, all right, Jeff, there comes a point sometimes when you all want to do the right thing and be there for us, but you can't. And there's an emergency. What do we do?
Right. So it's monitored as far as, you know, what the weather's doing, because if you haven't been in a hurricane or in a hurricane, sometimes it's worse in different areas of the county at certain particular times. So number one, if you're having an emergency, call 911, obviously. When you call 911, those calls are triaged. So the dispatchers may be able to give you information, or they will give you information to try to help that situation. But yes, there is a point where it is not safe for emergency personnel to come out. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, we do upstaff, meaning that we bring in more personnel into the stations prior to the storm arrival, so that when they are and it is safe for them to go out, there is more personnel to be able to go out.
And Dr. Camejo, let's let's just say someone has some bad luck and just has a bad reaction to some medication, and it can happen in the middle of a hurricane. First responders can't come out. What can a family member do to help at that moment?
So I think you need to assess the situation and make sure that, you know, what type of reaction you're having. You can always call personnel even if they can't get to you, that you can have somebody at least guide you through things. But the first thing you want to do is take note, what medication did you take? When was the last time you took it? If it's a mild reaction, you can easily take an over-the-counter antihistamine like a Zyrtec or a Benadryl to help, you know, alleviate any of those symptoms and what kind of symptoms are you having. And then if it is a severe allergic reaction where it affects breathing, if you do have a family member that suffers from severe allergic reactions, then the most important thing is always have an EpiPen in your house, because it really is important that you're able to give an EpiPen if it becomes a very severe. And then just always talk to somebody on medical advice on the phone. If they can't get to you, they can help you through any situation that you're having.
911, obviously, poison control even?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yes.
Great stuff, thank you so much. So another danger of hurricanes for coastal areas is storm surge, where wind and tides can push water up onto land and is one of the leading causes of death in a hurricane. Here's one Floridian story. Take a look.
You can't realize what your house is like when it starts flooding. Everything floats. You can't get down the hallway. I mean, you got to fight to get where you're going. The door was closing. We had to hold it. I don't know how long we held it. I don't know how high this water's going to go. But we're going to be trapped like rats in here. I saw death outside that door.
Pete, I can't even imagine how frightening that must have been at the point where Tom found himself and his wife in that video. It was too late for rescue, but they were lucky and they survived, thank goodness. So at what point should they have just evacuated?
Well, the Hurricane Center does a very good job of projecting the path of the storms. And they have two classifications. One is called the Hurricane Watch, and the other one, the Hurricane Warning. Hurricane Watch means that you have to get ready. You have to keep an eye on it, and you have to locate, go back that I was referring to earlier, and get informed, listen to local officials, and get ready to act. That's the time to get ready. When the hurricane warning is issued, that means that the storm is on the way. It'll be here quicker than you think. Now's the time to get out. You cannot be replaced. Stay informed, but you can leave everything else behind. You are the most important thing. The person, the most important thing, your family. So get out, evacuate. You can always go to a Red Cross shelter. There, we will keep you safe and fed and well treated.
Great message. Thank you, sir. So flooding is another hazard, and we saw that in the Texas floods that were just so devastating. Rising water can happen quickly and can be deadly. Jeff, some of the dangers of just trying to evacuate in rising waters. I mean, we've seen the videos. It's just heart-wrenching.
Right. So it goes kind of the whole theme of tonight. Be prepared. Have a plan. Know your evacuation areas. If you're in one of those, if you're leaving, leave. Don't stay behind, because unfortunately that's what does happen. Right, as you saw in the video, water comes in, and once the surge comes in, it's difficult. Right, 2 feet of water will sweep a car away, which seems like a lot of water, but you see the surge. That's a lot of water that's coming in. You have debris in the water. You potentially have down power lines. You potentially have sewage. You potentially have snakes, animals, creatures, all kinds of dangers that you really can't see because it's water and it's moving quickly. So create that plan. If you're going to go.
Dr. Camejo, I have a viewer who is asking, if my medicine gets wet or damp, are they safe to take?
I wouldn't take any wet or damp medication because a lot of times water is contaminated. You know, you don't know, especially in flooding or water surges. That's why it's really important, just like Pete says, when you prefer, you know, your to-go bag, always when a storm comes, get a waterproof bag or waterproof container, put all your meds in it, and put a list of your medications with your doctor's number and how you take it, so that in case you have to evacuate, go, or you need something, you know who to call.
Thank you. Dr. Calderon, you were involved, I read here, with Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana.
Yeah.
There was catastrophic damage and over 1,000 people lost their lives. I can't even imagine what you saw. What were some of the important lessons learned from that natural disaster, sir?
Well, thank you. It's been Katrina and Hurricane Ivan and many others, unfortunately. One of the lessons is that these are multi-layered events, right? So you may find a hurricane on top of a heat dome or a heat wave that's passing through, and then there's flooding as we're talking. And then, for example, in Texas, in the midst of Hurricane Harvey, the Arkema chemical plant exposure, which created a toxic environment for those residents. So we need to be prepared, and authorities need to be prepared to think about multi-layered events that are coming. It's not just an isolated hurricane. Number two, in regards to mental health conditions, obviously survival and physical health are the priorities here. But the emotional health, taking care of oneself emotionally, resuming primary care visits, resuming visits with healthcare providers, behavioral health providers if they're seeing somebody, is paramount, because what we've seen is that 6 to 12 months after a hurricane, then people start presenting with physical complaints and physical symptoms and worsening of physical conditions, not just mental health conditions. So take care of yourself with that. And the last thing I would say is that what lesson was that even though there was tremendous devastation, there was a silver lining. It's an opportunity to rebuild and do things differently and to come together as a community. Very powerful experience for everybody.
Thank you, Doctor. Speaking of devastation, the dangers are still there even after a storm subsides. Many families can be left without power or have damage to their homes and properties along with hazards left by the storm. You know, Jeff, I was a news reporter way back when, and I covered many hurricanes, and I found that we covered so many more accidents after the hurricane hit because of downed power lines and just standing water. So advice there.
Don't go outside.
Yeah.
You know,
because everybody wants to see.
Everybody wants to get outside, right?
Storm and then see what happened.
Yep. And depending on how long the storm is, you may have been inside for hours. And if you haven't witnessed a hurricane, you know, it comes in, the storm blows or the wind blows one way, and then it could potentially get sunny out when the eye comes across, and then the wind goes the other direction. So it's extreme caution, you know, and it's try to stay inside, because here again, if you go out and now you're driving around, now you could potentially run over things, pop your tires, now your car's on the side of the road. And mind you, after the storm, this is when the power companies, the emergency personnel are trying to go out and respond to those emergencies, and the more people that are out there create the more havoc. And I also just want to add too that for family members in Florida that don't, like their family members live outside of Florida, let them know now about what can potentially happen, because a lot of family members start calling, and depending on what happens with cell phone service, they can't get a hold of them. So then they get panicked. So maybe let them know what the local news channels are so that they can see, because when the storms come and you're not here, it's scary if you're a family member outside of the state. So educate your family members outside of Florida and let them know.
And Casey, pools as well. You know, people walk outside, what happened in the pool, kids are like, oh my gosh, look at the pool, it's full. And what should they look out for after the storm?
Supervision. Don't take your eyes off of them. I mean, I know you're distracted and wanting to clean up the debris and care for the aftermath of the storm. But just supervision is the absolute utmost, because it only takes us 2 inches of water for a drowning to occur in as little as 30 seconds. And so supervision is absolutely paramount.
And we're going to talk about that more in just a few minutes. So we talked about people being left without power after a hurricane, and some use portable generators. Boy, have we done stories on that. But there are some safety notes you should be aware of if you do use one. Please take a look at this.
Your portable generator or your neighbor's generator, it doesn't really matter. We all need to be concerned about carbon monoxide poisoning, especially after hurricanes. Firefighters saw a spike in carbon monoxide-related injuries and even deaths. Portable generators need to be 20 feet away from windows so the fumes don't creep inside living areas. The exhaust also needs to be pointed away from homes. Carbon monoxide is an invisible gas that you can't see, taste, or smell, but it can kill you. Install a CO detector in your home to warn your family if the gas reaches dangerous levels. The fumes from your neighbor's generator could creep through your open windows. Also, don't get burned. Never put fuel in a generator while it's running. Make sure it's cool before refueling, and make sure there are no open flames nearby like candles. The gas vapors can ignite. Get in the know about CO.
So Jeff, besides generators, what other fire hazards would people be aware of after a hurricane?
Right, so here again, grilling inside. Candles, a great alternative to candles is battery-operated flashlights, battery-operated lights. You can buy all kinds of things that run on batteries now that will provide illumination. But here again, now's the time to order those things and plan ahead. And with the generators, like the video said, 20 feet away. And that does not mean 20 feet closer to your neighbor's house. So even if you don't have a generator, get a CO detector, throw it in your hurricane kit. If a storm happens, you don't necessarily have to install it. That's the best way. But put it on the windowsill, put it on the wall, because the last thing you need is your neighbor's fumes coming into your house. Because here again, you can't see, smell, or taste it.
Thank you, sir. So besides hurricane season, summer is also when people spend more time outside and in the water. Here in Florida, it's not limited to just summer, it's year-round. Drownings happen all too often, and knowing how to swim can save your life. Every year, there are over 4,000 unintentional drownings in the U.S. Almost 40 million adults don't know how to swim. 1 in 3 Black adults don't know how, and 3 in 4 Hispanic adults have never taken a swimming lesson. Besides hurricane season, summer's also a time to spend more time outside and in the water. And here, unfortunately, Malcolm Jamal Warner, 54 years old, the victim of an unfortunate drowning. They attempted to get to him in time, but unfortunately, it was just too late. Very sad. Most adult drownings incidents happen in lakes, rivers, and even oceans, and sadly, sometimes those adults do know how to swim. So Casey, I'm going to bring you in. I mean, what a tremendous loss. There are riptides, drownings. Some people even know how to swim, and the worst occurs. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the stigma attached to drownings is that it can only happen to those type of people or that age group, and that's the farthest thing from the truth. I mean, obviously, Malcolm's story is a very great example of that. He was a swimmer, he was on vacation, and he got caught in a rip current. So I think being prepared, the story of like the title of this show, pretty much, be prepared and know. Swim near a lifeguard, know your limits, know what to do if you get caught in a rip current. And I think that that's pretty much what I would say about that specific story and situations is it can happen to me, now what am I going to do to prevent it?
Thank you, Casey. And you know, for children, it's actually worse, and the facts are there. Take a look. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 through 4. Infants under 1 are more likely to drown at home. The majority of those deaths happen in home pools or bathtubs. Older children ages 5 to 17 years old are more likely to drown in natural waters like lakes and the ocean. And unfortunately, one of our panelists suffered such a loss. And here's her story.
My daughter Edna Mae was born December 29, 2007, and she was truly the greatest gift to our family at that time. You know, it was our first major loss, my mom was. So having a brand new baby was like new life, and she really was. She just kind of came into our family unit and just blessed us. The day of M's incident, what's so fascinating is the pool wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even look at the pool when I went out. I remember walking past my pool. That's when I caught the glimpse of him floating in our pool. And to this day, I have that vision. I have that vision of her floating, exactly where she was floating, in her white dress that had polka dots that my sister just bought her maybe 2 weeks before, and her bright blue eyes looking right up. And I ran over screaming, grabbed her, and yelled to God, help me, help me. when an incident like this happens, many, many, many lives are affected by each one of these tragedies. And I felt like the nursing staff and the doctors there took care of our family just as much as they were taking care of her. They worked to educate us. They allowed at one point, when they changed her bedding, for me to hold her in a rocking chair and just love on her. They allowed me to brush her teeth and care for her in any way that I could. And as a mother, you just want to comfort them. You just want to make it better. And I couldn't make it better. And then I had to let her go. And so I told her it was okay. I took her earrings out of her ears. I placed them in mine. I clipped her little lockets, the little bit of hair she had, and made her promise that I would fight to prevent this from happening to anybody else. I'm going to make this my life's mission to stop this from happening. My name is Casey McGovern, and I lost a child to drowning.
Gosh, Casey, I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry to get emotional because my daughter also fell in a pool, but I got to her in time. She was in the bottom and we dove in. And we pulled her out, and she made it. I'm so sorry, so sorry.
So thankful that you had the positive outcome.
She was at a party. So many questions I have right now. The importance of teaching a child how to swim, how early we can start, because I believe it's infancy. How to get started. I just have so many questions for you.
I think the earlier the better is what I would say. You know, obviously, it's always about monetary factors too, so being mindful. If cost is a factor, then you have to look for assistance. But earlier the better to get them just comfortable in and around the water and safe. But I think making a plan, knowing that this can happen to me, now what am I going to do to prevent it? You know, I might not be able to afford swim lessons, or I can't get swim lessons, but I could put door chimes on my doors. I could put a fence around the body of water. I could know where they're at all times. My situation was she was 19 months of age, and I didn't know that she could have had swim lessons at that point. She wore floaties, and I thought there was nothing wrong with it. A door chime could have simply let me know that that door opened up to go to the door. And so I think that just education is absolutely the most important, and knowing the risk factors that are associated with drowning. It is the #1 cause of death for children 1 to 4, by far of anything else, and it's preventable.
What would you say is the most important message, because I know it's a passion of yours, and God bless you, to parents and anyone that has a child?
I think it'll happen to you. Like, just know that this can happen, and what am I going to do to prevent it? You would never allow your child to get out of a car in a parking lot and run to the store. You would never leave a loaded gun on your coffee table when you have toddlers nearby. Same situation. You have to think about it in the same context, because it can claim the life just as quick. I mean, there's so many different little pieces I would give parents, but check the water first. Get them in swim lessons before you get them into ballet or dance or football or t-ball. Get them in swimming lessons first.
Thank you, Casey. Jeff, I want to bring you in. When a parent encounters that and a child is maybe not responding and they're drowning, what could they do before first responders arrive?
Right. First and foremost, remove them from the pool, and secondly, or if not first, call 911 immediately. Once the child or the person is out of the pool, immediately start administering CPR.
Thank you. We have a video with more information about keeping your children safe in the pool. Take a look.
Living Minute, a look at the latest medical innovations changing our lives.
More young children die from drowning than any other cause, most in a backyard pool. Some of those deaths could have been prevented if they knew how to swim. But how young should a child be to start lessons?
Some can learn at an early age. Some it may be after that 4 or 5 age, which just means that parent, that adult has to be that first line of defense when it comes to keeping their child safe in and around water.
And even infants can learn a skill to keep them from drowning.
If a child falls in the water and is able to float on their back, that can literally save their life.
If your child has not learned to swim yet, there are some things you can do. Make sure you have a fence around the pool. Don't leave pool toys in the pool.
It's just important to remove them after you finish swimming, because that's where a lot of accidents happen. You know, if a pool toy is in the pool and they jump in after it and the parent's not around, then you're in danger.
Have your child wear a life jacket that's Red Cross certified and not only in the pool.
Life jackets are great, especially in boats. If you're out on a boat, life jackets are 100% necessary.
Casey, you said in the video, and I wrote it down, you were going to make it your life's work so another parent won't go through what you did. Tell me a little bit about Every Child a Swimmer.
Yeah, Every Child a Swimmer works to provide Learn to Swim scholarships to the underserved population, and we also advocate for life-saving legislation throughout the country. We had success in Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, and this year we had success in New York, Arizona, and New Mexico. And what that does is it requires all schools to share water safety information, sharing the risk factors and where to go for local swim lessons. And the Learn to Swim Scholarship Program provides 3 months of swim lessons to any family that shows criteria that they're in the low income bracket.
Great stuff. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it. So the warmer weather also brings with it thunderstorms, and they produce one of the most underrated weather hazards, lightning. So while lightning striking a person is rare, each year between 20 and 30 people are killed by them in the United States. Jeff, that actually even surprised me, 20 to 30. So what are some of the precautions to take in a thunderstorm, you know, if it's producing lightning?
Stay indoors, stay under cover. You know, South Florida, we have a lot of golfers, a lot of golfing, a lot of golf courses. You know, when those storms roll in, they're out on the golf courses, they have shelters out there. Get your cart underneath there, get your body underneath there. There was just a thing I personally just saw on the internet where a lightning strike hit a flagpole at the golf course. Yeah, so take cover, you know, and not underneath the tree, you know, underneath the structure.
And Dr. Camejo, I wanted to ask you real quick, with more people spending time outdoors, and somebody wrote this about, you know, just a greater chance of someone getting a reaction to maybe an insect. The other day there was a huge bee around me. Poison ivy. I mean, there's just so many things. What should they have on hand just in case?
I think the most important thing is be aware of your surroundings, especially when you go out. Don't make, you know, please wear long sleeves. Sometimes people know it's hot, but, you know, you can wear those you know, drying, those long sleeve dry t-shirts that they have. Those are good. And the most important thing is have a summer kit. You know, use calamine lotion, any of the antihistamines that can help with any of the reactions, and anything that you can do over the counter. You can always ask your pharmacist and ask what else is there for you to put into your summer kit, especially also sprays and things like that you can keep mosquitoes and things away, because also you get mosquitoes, a lot of mosquitoes out there.
The mosquitoes here in Florida, oh my God, they attack me all the time. So we've covered a lot in this program. Before we end this amazing hour, I just kind of want to get everybody's final thoughts. So Pete, we've covered a lot. Just some final thoughts from you and the Red Cross and the amazing things you do.
Well, the first thing that I need to tell you is that my heart goes out to Casey. There is not a word in the language that describes the loss of a child. If you lose a parent, you become an orphan. But we, the spice, we cannot tolerate the loss of a child like that. There is no word. So, Casey, my heart goes out to you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
As far as getting back to the topic of the Red Cross, 90% of the people at the Red Cross are like myself. We're volunteers. We devote our time, talent, and some of us, our effort, monetary efforts, donations. We have partners that help us out, and we like to give back to the community. We have students, we have retired individuals, we have people from all walks of life that have joined the Red Cross in order to help those in need at the time of that have a crisis. if you want to be one of those and join us, maybe I have a red cape for you.
Thank you.
I don't know. But,
thank you, sir.
Call Red Cross at contactredcross.org or 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Thank you so much. Dr. Calderon, I have about 20 seconds, sir. Final thoughts from you, please.
Yeah. Final thoughts, prepared even emotionally. Avoid drugs and alcohol. You want to stay sharp and you want to stay alert for things. And also just remember that, particularly if you evacuate, your insurance company has care managers, and so has your providers, and they keep track of medications. They can link you up with providers wherever you evacuated and help you fill medications if you lost them or if they get wet, etc. So,
thank you, Doctor. We're running out of time, but Casey, I want you to say a few words for me, if you don't mind.
I think the 2 words is be prepared. That's
Be prepared.
what I would say. Be prepared.
Thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate it so much for your time. I want to thank our panel for sharing their expert advice with us. And of course, you out there, be prepared. That is the message here. I hope we gave you some good information that will keep you and your family safe. I'm Olga Villaverde, and as always, we'll see you next time. You take care.
Thank you to the Eunice Joyce Gardner Charitable Foundation for its leadership support of the Health Channel.